Many thanks for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, following a meeting between President Bola Tinubu and the Vice President of Google, that's the Global Vice President of Google, Richard Gingras, a partnership was reached to create 1 million digital jobs for Nigerians. According to the President, quote, "I am glad that Google is ready to partner with us. You have answered our call on digital innovation and to help our youth. You are supporting our efforts to promote the digital economy. We are ready to work with you on your commitment to create 1 million digital jobs in Nigeria." End of quote. Today on the show, we will take a look at how this partnership will be taking place and also take a look at some legislation that was put in place by the previous administration to ensure the digital economy blossoms. But before we get to all of that, let's first of all take a look at the social media trends in the past week.
A military coup led by General Tchiani has put the Republic of Niger in a state of fear, panic and frenzy as democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum is under arrest and all other structures of democracy. Tweets the world over responded in disbelief. However, the ECOWAS Union has since met and given a week's ultimatum for the military to reinstate President Bazoum or face the wrath of its powers. West Africa has recently been rocked by military uprisings in the past 3 years, with Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso all having their democracies truncated. Nigerians were stunned as officials of the DSS and Nigeria Correctional Service clashed at the Federal High Court Lagos premises over who will take custody of the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. The tussle ensued after Lagos court granted the suspended CBN chief bail and ordered that he should be moved from DSS custody and remanded at a correctional center.
There you go. Those were some of the trends in the past week. Quite interesting, I must say. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us right here in the Abuja studio, Engineer Olofin Olushola. He is a seasoned entrepreneur with many years of experience that cuts across Nigeria and beyond. He has also helped to revolutionize the ICT sector in Nigeria with his astute leadership skills and passion for success. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. We also have joining us Obinna Iwuno. He joins us via Zoom from Lagos. He is the founder and head of the renowned Crypto Bootcamp community. He is a certified blockchain educator, a project manager with Growth Consultation. Obinna, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the show today as well.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. But Olushola, kickstart this conversation for us. What was your reaction when you heard about this partnership, this agreement to partner, to create 1 million jobs, digital jobs, specifically in the country between Nigeria's federal government and Google?
Well, I see it as a welcoming development because I feel that this partnership should have come a long time from now, because for any society or nations to develop, ICT is a bane of development in any society. Yeah. Take it or leave it. Because right now, as we say, the world is into digital divide. So there is no way that you can prosper or develop without impaired in the use of technological solution. Yeah. So an information technology is something that we need to drive on as a nation right now. And I'm glad that Mr. President, Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is looking towards that direction. He's a technology-savvy person, and renowned auditors and accountants. So if you can combine the two experience together, and you're going to have a society that is built on, technological infrastructures and people, particularly the teeming youth, who are, looking into ICT environments, will be able to grow. And by the time in the nearest future, you start having us exporting our ICT solutions, both softwares and hardwares abroad for use.
I'm very interested in your last statement, about exporting, our ICT solutions, software, hardware, and all. But I'll come back to you in just a minute. Let me quickly just hear from Obinna, who again is joining us via Zoom from Lagos. Obinna, again, let's begin with the possible, what's it called now? The possible arenas or avenues in which, this partnership can hold.
Okay, so the collaboration with Google is a very good one and a step in the right direction, in the sense that not just this administration, the previous administration has also indicated its interest in creating digital jobs for Nigerians' teeming youthful population who are vibrant and creative and very intelligent, and of course have taken certain steps towards that, and this partnership with Google and the federal government of Nigeria, it's going to also add a lot more to that, because in a previous conversation I've had with some stakeholders, I have asked a very important question, and I said, why don't we have centers and faculties or departments, in our tertiary institutions, especially our universities, that are being developed or handled by these organizations like Google, like Microsoft, like Yahoo and the rest of them. Why don't we have those ones? Why don't we have an IBM center in University of Lagos? Why don't we have a Google center in University of Port Harcourt? Why don't we have a Microsoft center in University of Nigeria? All of these things will aid to increase the first-hand experience of our students who are learning at our tertiary institutions, because it is one thing for you to know about this. It's another thing for you to have the hands-on experience, all right? And I believe that the direct partnership with these organizations and corporations is going to help improve our knowledge and our productivity in the long run, because it will lead to a transfer of knowledge and technology. And so I think that what the federal government has done with Google is a step in the right direction, creating digital job opportunities in Nigeria. And so some of the things that needs to be addressed with this partnership is, how do we come up with skill development programs, in partnership with Google, because the focus should be on raising the skilled workforce here, a skilled workforce here, right? So how do we come up with skill development programs, and how is it distributed so that it is pushed into the mainstream, right, of our society? We need to also look at digital infrastructure, what digital infrastructures are coming in terms of access to internet and all of the resources that are needed to build an innovative and progressive and ICT sector,
Yeah,
right? On the technologies that Google has.
Yeah. So I was going to say that, baby steps, so to speak. Now, this partnership is perhaps, one of those steps that would lead to, the infrastructure that you talked about, the institutes in Nigerian universities. But, when you bring it back home and also look at, because you made mention of what the previous administration, did. The previous administration also, had some ICT centers in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. There was right-of-way issues, which was pretty much settled between state governments and providers of internet, to make it either cheap or even free in some states. I think in Kaduna it was free, in some other states. So there's all of this, But I'm thinking now. Let me just bring it back to what you said earlier on about exporting, our tech solutions. We've also had some Nigerian companies that have hit the unicorn level, but just a few of them. But I would have thought that with all of the investments that we have, be it private and public, one would have expected that we've had more of our tech being exported to the global community. But I mean, where are we not? What is the piece that we need to put right in the puzzle?
Yeah, I would like to say here that the government actually needs to encourage the private sectors, especially the emerging ICT or service providers, to give them an enabling environment to grow. Because, he made mention about building skill acquisition centers and things like that. Yeah. You see, when government start doing all those things, it doesn't thrive because of the corruption system we're facing.
The bottlenecks.
So I want to believe that government should not have business in business. There's no point government should be. All they need to do is to identify the emerging tech companies, the ones that are serious, that are growing, and you can see they have products that they're actually trying to build on. So they could empower them to establish this skill acquisition center. So by so doing, they will be able to monitor, supervise, and the government can actually supervise. Then these tech people will implement their project, and at the end of the day, you see how viable and how it grows.
Yeah.
So because right now we have a lot of our tech people, young boys and girls, doing fantastically well. And the need for government to identify people like that and invest in them. That is the only way we can grow.
So speaking about investing in businesses, there are so much of those funds, I think, in the Bank of Industry or Agriculture, even in the CBN, there's some of those, seed capital. And I think the Bank of Industry has a program called DICE. I'm not sure about the name, So, I mean, those investments, those funds are there for those wanting, to get in there. So
thank you very much for that. I quite agree with you. Those funds are made available, even so there are some, international donors that made such funds available. The problem we have is that are they genuinely implementing it? And most of the people having access to these funds are not the right people. So the moment we start having the right people having access to the funds, you see the country start booming. I'm partnership with a lot of foreign multinational companies, including Airbus. I represent Airbus in Nigeria on cybersecurity and secure land communications. I also represent SATO Systems in Spain, also Johnson Control in UK. But you see, when you start to talk to these people about coming to invest in Nigeria, they're not ready to come. Wow. So the only way you can make these people, Google is doing this because they see the need to. One of the need they see is because our populations. Okay? The market. Yeah. So they know there's market there, and they're learning the terrain already. So they can easily come. So he talks about IBM. IBM, you won't see them. So some multinational companies like that are not ready to come yet. But we have access to them. We're talking to them. We're canvassing them because that is important that we build, we transfer technology, back home. Yeah. In doing that, our economy is going to be open to, development. Yeah. We all this research, only the tech, if the government can concentrate on technologies, on ICT, information communication technology, I can bet you in the next 2 years, it is going to, overcome what we call the crude oil, whatever. ICT is the main.
Well, Obi, now let me come to you now. Let's kickstart this part of the show. Looking at legislation, we quite celebrated the Nigerian Startup Act, which was pushed very well by the government that just exited. And We're looking at implementation. Thankfully, you're one of the members of the steering committee that would ensure the implementation of this acts. Where exactly are we, and how well will this make the ecosystem better when it's fully implemented?
Okay, so the Startup Act has already started right from the previous administration. And if you look at what the Startup Act was addressing, it is to grow and empower the tech, startup economy for Nigeria. So it is focused on tech, right? And which is something that is very, very important and needed in our country at the moment, because the whole world is moving in the direction of tech. If you look at India, you will see what India has done with tech to their economy. And today we have about 5 of the top 10 global tech companies have Indians as their CEOs. And that was because a step was, taken to address the tech economy of India. And of course, that yielded the results. So right now, some of the things that this Startup Act is meant to do is to empower startups, to provide legislations, right, that protects startups so that there are regulations that lead and encourage innovation or strangulate it, right? And we also looking at investor protection and consumer protection, and of course, whatever we are exporting out of this country is up to the global standard, because some of the things that hampers the growth of the startup sector is the access to funds, the access to resources, the access to the right technologies and partners, and creating that enabling environment, like we all know, that is needed for businesses to thrive, and which is actually the role of government, not actually building businesses, but creating an environment for businesses to thrive so that private enterprises can thrive. So at the stage where the Startup Act is now in implementation is on empowering startups, to take off. So some of them are going to, get uh, support for research and development, some of them for incubation, which is that's the incubation aspect is one very important area that needs to be expanded beyond what it is. While we have, why the Silicon Valley is very successful and dominant globally is because of their incubation sector.
Yeah.
So you see that innovators and startups receive that support, for them to build and build properly. And most times when they build,
Obinaba, we have a few. What was it called? Incubators. I mean, we have CC Hub, which is pretty much like the most prominent, but I mean,
yeah,
only CC Hub can't do it. I know there are a few other hubs as well. Like I said, the federal government has 6 hubs, in each geopolitical zone. So, how can we bolster those hubs to ensure that they match, or even better, what CC Hub is doing?
I think that those hubs needs to be more equipped, like what we have in CC Hub and even bigger. It's not enough to establish a hub. What is the resources at these hubs? Who are the facilitators at these hubs? Who are the partners at these hubs? Who are they connected to? That is what CC Hub have that these other hubs do not have adequately. And so if they do not have that adequately, it is going to affect the quality of what they are producing. And truth be told, you will not see a CC Hub opportunity that will give you higher, and then you will go for a hub that will give you lesser. And then when everybody is rushing to hubs like the CC Hub, it becomes congested, and there is a limit to how much CC Hubs can do. So what we need to look at is how are our hubs equipped in terms of the resources and the facilitators and the partners to these hubs. That is what makes a hub, effective and efficient in delivering the purpose for which these incubation hubs are built for.
All right, let me bring the conversation to you again. You know, you're looking at these partnerships, you know, this facilitators, you know, this connections to, you know, global, what's it called, global companies or global investors. And what can be done? What do you think is perhaps, you know, making hubs in other parts of the country not have this leeway to all of these people? So what can be done differently, actually, pretty much?
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe that the government is already taking a good step by accepting the partnership or moving towards the partnership with Glo. Yeah. And Glo recently, Google, sorry. Google recently, they've, you know, laid their fiber, submarine fiber to Lagos. Yeah. So if they can, if they can open the tech hubs to, you know, liberate on that, to have, what's it called, broadband connectivity across all the states in Nigeria. Yeah. That alone will set the pace for our people, teaming youth, to start having access to internet, and by so doing, they will be able to build, like my daughter recently, because I gave her a pad, she's already building cartoons, and I was shocked when I saw it. She's already creating cartoons, you know, app, and working on different app, you know, and she's barely 8 years old. So you see, when we have...
Catch them young.
Yes, the opportunity to catch them young. Yeah. In the next few years, Nigeria will be open to the international investors. We are already opening for that, but you know, it's now going to have more strength, more capacity to bring in different kind of investors to develop the technology that is required in every aspect of our lives in the country. So, like he said about India, India started so small, but right now they're everywhere. And you could be in your office, an Indian person will send in an email to revamp your website for you, or, you know, SEO solutions, things like that. Yeah. But it's something we can do here.
Absolutely. So, well, let's hope that, you know, we mop up all of these opportunities and put them to good use.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
You know, so the country can be way better than it is in terms of tech. Of course, we've heard of all of the, you know, the sign-ups that have been happening in the previous years. Companies, you know, raking in millions and millions of dollars. So we want to hear more of those stories, and hopefully, you know, with the Startup Act, you know, and all of these things being put in place, things would be good for us. But I have to say thank you to you for joining us on the show, Olafin Olushola, as well as Opina Iwuno. Thanks as well to you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, that's where we are. Thank you very much for joining us and being a part of the conversation. Would leave you, as always, with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.
The DSS rearresting suspended CBN governor after he was granted bail by a Lagos court kicks off this week's most viewed videos.
Point of order, force is order.
It is followed by the ministerial list of President Bola Tinubu, which has Nyesom Wike, Nasir El-Rufai, Dave Umahi, and 25 others on it, being read out by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio.
Will receive the expeditious consideration and confirmation of the Senate. We are over 20 million children that should be in school are not in school.
Third Sport sees former President Olusegun Obasanjo claiming that Nigeria has failed to meet his expectations since independence.
Skill acquisition.
It takes two to tango, and I'm not deprecating the DSS operatives alone, but the prison officials.
The condemnation that followed the clash between the DSS and officials of the correctional center by a lawyer comes in second.
I think ought not to have occurred today. There was no reason for it. The criminal defendant was not going to be stolen from prison is not going to be stolen from the DSS custody. So,
while topping the charts is the clash between officials of the Correctional Center and the DSS over the custody of suspended CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele.